Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my Quick Nightmare guide. The goal of this guide is to give a quick rundown, or as quick as possible at least, on how to fight the Nightmare boss. If you just need a reminder of what to do, or you just don't want a lot of information in general when learning a boss, hopefully this is the video for you. But also, if you want even more in-depth explanations of how certain things work, I have a full Nightmare guide which is linked in the description. In this video, we'll go over requirements, your gear and inventory, traveling to the Nightmare, then how to fight the Nightmare, which is going to be just an overview of all her attacks for the most part, and then finally we'll talk about the loot. The only actual requirements is the Priest and Peril quest. You can kill the Nightmare in a team with like 80 plus attack, strength, defense, and magic, but I highly suggest 90 plus in these combat stats to make the grind a lot better. Finally, you want the Draken's Medallion. It is a reward from the Taste of Hope quest, and it is very helpful for traveling. What gear that I suggest to wear is also kind of a requirement, I guess. If you can't afford any of this gear, I do bring up more options in the full guide, but this is a high-level boss, so you're going to need some solid gear. The one bill setup is not required, though. The scythe is the best weapon for this, as long as you are also using Inquisitors to add to the crush bonus, and make sure your scythe is on crush. The scythe is more expensive to use than the Inquisitor's mace, and the mace is also pretty sick, so the mace is still a great weapon choice. The Abyssal Bludgeon is also not that bad here. As I said, you want to wear Inquisitors, but if you don't have Inquisitors, you could wear Bandos and the Native Knot Face Guard. And Torva technically is better than Bandos, but it is very expensive. Infernal Cape is best in slot, but Myth's Cape is actually second best option unless you're using an Inquisitor's mace, then you should use the Fire Cape. Rana's Blessing 4 is the only blessing with a +2 prayer bonus, otherwise you could just use a Peaceful Blessing. Your shield only matters if you have that one-handed weapon, but you can use an Infernal Defender or the Dragon Defender if you have yet to invest. Ferocious gloves are best in slot, and they are not that expensive, but Barrow's gloves still work very well. Primordial boots are insanely expensive for a small upgrade, so it's not a huge deal to just downgrade to Dragon boots. And for the ring slot, honestly, just use the imbued Berserker Ring. It is by far your best option. In the inventory, you do have your magic gear. The Harmonized Nightmare Staff with a Tome of Fire and Fire Surge in your rune pouch is very powerful, but it's a very pricey staff. I use the Sanguinesti staff for healing, but the Trident of the Swamp is still good, and shout out to the Shadow of Tumekin, which is coming out soon with Raids 3. You only need to bring magic gear that adds magic strength. This includes the following: the Occult Necklace, which is the best of this whole list and the cheapest, the Tormented Bracelet, Ancestral Robes, and the Imbued God Cape from Mage Arena 2. If you don't have any of these pieces, you can just replace them with some food instead. If you're using the Sanguinesti or the Tridents, an Imbued Heart can increase your mage level temporarily, which will increase your max hit. If you're not using the Harmonized Staff and you don't have to be using Fire Surge, then I suggest using Thralls, being on the Arceus Spellbook, which means that you have to bring the Book of the Dead with you. The Dragon Warhammer reduces her defense. It should be used at the beginning of each melee phase. A Bandos Godsword could replace the Dragon Warhammer, and the Saradomin Godsword is also good for healing and getting longer trips. For potions and food, you got your super combat potions. You do need a Sanfu Serum, though that could be replaced with the Relisum's Balm. You need Saradomin Brews and Restores for healing, but preferably you just want to use Anglers for healing. The better you get at this, the less brews you're going to need. I try to only bring brews for when I'm messing up and try to get a combo eat out of them. Now on to traveling there. The most common way to get there is with the Versin Haza teleport on the Draken's Medallion. It brings you to the Theater of Blood, and you can take the long run from there. If you do enough Thosani's Nightmare, you can get the Sleepy Tablet, which adds a teleport option on the Draken's Medallion, which teleports you much closer, but it is kind of difficult to get. Otherwise, you can use the Ectofiel and talk to Andris. You can either pay 10k every time, or you can pay 1 mil one time, and you can take the boat to just north of the Theater of Blood, and then you can make the run all the way from there. Now let's talk about how to kill the Nightmare. There are 3 phases. Each phase you start by attacking her, dealing damage with melee to that blue health bar, and then once you get it to 0, you use magic on the totems in the corners. Once the totems are fully charged, she is going to teleport to the middle and then spawn some Sleepwalkers at the totems. She will spawn 1 for each player in the arena, max at 8. Everyone needs to kill the Sleepwalker before it gets to the Nightmare, or she deals a lot of damage to the team. She has all 3 standard attacks, so she can use melee, ranged, and magic attacks. Her melee attack is the fastest. You can protect from melee and then just react to the other 2 attacks, or you could stand on the opposite side of the boss to whomever is tanking it. She will target whoever has the most defense on the team. That includes your defense level, your defensive gear, and even your prayers. Her magic attack is this nice little twirl with these kind of red pinkish flowers. It takes 1 tick longer to hit you than the melee hit. And then the range hit is a little bit more obvious, a little bit of a click, clack, click, and you have the same amount of time to protect from this as you did with the magic attack. One other attack that she could use on any phase are the Grasping Claws. She's going to reel back and then spawn a bunch of black voids on the ground. Step out of the way quickly to avoid damage. During phase 1, she has 2 special attacks. She will drop down into the floor, spawning back into the middle, and then separate the arena into quadrants. The quadrant with the green flowers is the safe one. Stand there. The other spec, she will spawn husks on about half of the players. You have to attack the husks as soon as possible. Anybody who has the husks on them is going to be taking damage from them, and they're going to be frozen in place. In phase 2, she has 2 more special attacks. For one, she'll impregnate half the team with parasites. If you get the parasite in your belly, you can see the parasite fly into your belly. Also, your health bar will turn pink. Drink a Sanfu serum or a Relisum's bomb before it bursts out of your belly, and then kill it as soon as it spawns. It will be healing her or the totems. Also, during phase 2, she will swap your prayers. This one's going to mess you up a lot. She will shift them to the left, meaning that you need to click on one prayer to the left on what you actually need, and that's going to last for 5 attacks. Here is a visual using some screen markers to show you which prayer is switched to which. And then finally in phase 3, she has 2 more special attacks. First, Surge, the Falcon Kick. She's going to drop down into the ground and spawn at the edge of the room, flying across the room, hitting anybody in the way for a lot of damage. Get out of the way to avoid the damage. And lastly, we have the Spores. She's going to spawn a bunch of mushrooms around the room. If you stand near them, she's going to give you the yawns. It's going to slow down your attacks and turn off your run. Plus, you spread the yawn to any other players if you are standing next to them. So that is all of her attacks. If you do all of that correctly, you are able to get the kill, but finally there is one more mechanic. If you die at the Nightmare, which will happen while you're trying to learn it, you have to come back to Shura, who is just outside the fight, and you pay her 60k to get your stuff back. If you would like to see all of those mechanics in a row, just an example kill, I do have to point you towards the full Nightmare guide that I have linked in the description, as I do have a full example kill in that guide. Alright, let's go over the loot quickly. Most of Nightmare's regular drops are pretty crappy, honestly, but her rares are so rare that they're still very expensive. You have a 1 in 120 chance to hit the armor and weapon table on each kill, and then you have a 1 in 600 chance to hit that orb table on each kill. Since you get a roll at both tables, this means you effectively get a 1 in 100 chance to get one of those big uniques on every kill. Those uniques make for a very big payday. Also, she does have a jar, and she does have a pet. Not as many players are really hoping for that jar, but the pet is one of the coolest in the game in my opinion. That is actually going to wrap it up for this quick guide, everybody. I think we did a pretty good job at narrowing it down. It's a brief rundown on how to kill Nightmare, but if you want even more information, like I said, I have a full Nightmare guide in the description. I go over all the things that I went over in this guide, but I actually have a lot more detail to it. Thank you very much for watching this quick Nightmare guide, everybody. If you got any useful information out of the guide, or you just enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. If you still have any questions, even just after watching this quick guide, let me know in the comments section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I do stream on Twitch, which should be linked on the screen and in the description. I am also on Twitter, and I do have a Discord, which are all linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, and best of luck on your Nightmare grind.